Manitoba is acknowledging the past harms and ongoing intergenerational harms caused by residential schools.
10 residential school healing centres like the Southeast Resource Development Council behind me are receiving provincial funding to help provide support for survivors after a particularly tough week.
Manitoba will be providing $500,000 to 10 Manitoba Indian residential school healing centres, increasing their capacity to provide culturally appropriate mental health and trauma supports to Indigenous residential school survivors.
It is imperative that we listen, that we learn, and support the healing needed to address the intergenerational trauma caused by the Canadian government's residential school program.
The drama of locating unmarked graves across Canada this past year, coupled by the stress felt by Indigenous peoples as a delegation traveled to Rome to seek an apology from the Pope, has been triggering for many survivors.
The location and discovery of more than 6,000 unmarked graves of children and youth who attended Indian residential schools across Canada has once again brought to light the significant pain and suffering endured by more than 150,000 First Nations, Métis, and Inuit children and youth.
It's a step for Manitoba to move forward in reconciliation.
Residential school survivor GERALDINE SHINGOOSE believes this funding is a positive, but knows that much more is needed and sees this as an ideal time for the Catholic Church to step in and aid in the funding of recovery programs. SHINGOOSE says $500,000 will be spread thin amongst all the communities utilizing the 10 healing centers.
With Keewatin Tribal Council, that's MKO region, there's 26 First Nations communities. Those funds aren't going to go too far.
SHINGOOSE says as hard as the past year has been, it's only the beginning, as more radar searches are planned at former residential school sites in 2022.
That's very emotional on us survivors, each time we hear those numbers. And we're going to hear them more.
This funding is part of a 5-year plan from the province that began with a $200,000 investment last September. In Winnipeg, Mike Albanese, City News.